At 3:12 a.m., my security camera caught a woman in a designer coat standing on my porch with a red gas can whispering, "This is what happens when you don't respect the HOA." The next frame is her heel grinding on my welcome mat like she owned it. And the wild part is, that wasn't even the first time she tried to throw me out of my own house. 2 days earlier, I'd just gotten back to Cedar Hollow after being gone way too long, the kind of tired that sits in your bones even after you shower. My grandpa's cabin was still there, tucked up in the pines, smelling like cedar planks and old tobacco, like time didn't touch it. I hadn't even set my duffel down before I heard sharp footsteps on the porch, click, 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 like somebody brought a runway to a dirt road. I opened the door, and there she is, Diane Wexler. Perfect hair, expensive heels, sinking into pine needles, clutching a stack of papers like she's delivering a verdict. She doesn't say hello, doesn't introduce herself like a normal person. She goes straight to, "You have no right to be here. Get off this property right now." I blinked once slow, like maybe I misheard. "Ma'am, this is my cabin." She shoved the papers toward my chest. "Not according to the Homeowners Association. You're in violation. You owe emergency fees. And if you don't pay today, we start enforcement." Enforcement? Like she's a federal agency and I'm squatting in a mall parking lot. I looked down at the notices. They had embossed seals, official-looking signatures, even a code number in the corner like they were pulled from some government database. $15,000. Another page listed structural hazards, fire risk, unauthorized modifications, and my personal favorite, failure to maintain community standards. "Lady, the nearest community is a gas station that closes at 6. I asked, calm as I could manage, "Where's the actual HOA agreement with my signature?" Diane's smile twitched. "You don't need to sign when the neighborhood requires it." That's when I knew. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a hustle. She leaned closer, perfume thick enough to taste, and said, "I'm the government here. This valley runs the way I say it does." I let her talk. I nodded like I was listening. Inside, something cold clicked into place because my grandpa Ezra was the kind of man who didn't trust banks, didn't trust officials, and sure as hell didn't trust someone waving paper around like it was magic. He kept records, real ones. Deeds, surveys, old maps in rusted file cabinets stacked like ammunition. Diane finally strutted off my porch like she'd just posted an eviction notice on a haunted house. I stood there watching her walk back to a spotless SUV, and all I could think was, who does this to people? Turns out she'd been doing it for a while. My neighbor Frank Miller, retired mechanic, Vietnam-era tough, the kind of guy who smells like motor oil and safety, wandered over after she left. He didn't even ask what happened. He just said, "She finally got you face to face, huh?" Frank told me Diane moved in a couple years back from the city, dragged her husband Todd behind her like he was an accessory. No kids, too much time, and a weird obsession with being in charge. She'd convinced some newer homeowners there was a Cedar Hollow Estates Homeowners Association, and somehow, just like that, she crowned herself president. Except nobody could produce real bylaws. No registration. No legit member list. Just Diane, a leather portfolio, and a printer that worked overtime. While I was gone, she'd come up to my cabin, taken photos, measured my porch railing, left violations taped to my door. Then she started billing me fines, late fees, inspection charges, all while I wasn't even here to see them. Frank said she'd hit other families too, especially the ones who weren't around much, the ones least likely to fight back. And that part lit a fuse in me. A few mornings later, I'm on my porch with coffee trying to pretend my blood pressure is normal when I see a little convoy crawl up the road. One county-marked truck, 2 regular cars, and Diane marching up front like she's leading a parade. She hops out in a business suit, smiles like she's about to ruin someone's day because she is, and gestures to a guy in khakis holding a clipboard. "Mr. Carter, this is Kevin Brooks with County Inspection. We're here for your structural assessment." Kevin looked like he'd rather be trapped in an elevator with a screaming toddler than stand on my porch. Diane started pointing at my cabin like she was calling plays. Foundation settling, fire hazards, chimney instability, electrical dangers. Kevin tried to mumble something like, for a 1930s build, "This looks..." Diane cut him off. "It's not safe. Write it up." And that's when the whole thing cracked. Kevin shifted his clipboard, bent down to check something, and a receipt fluttered right out of his pocket and landed at my boots like a gift from the universe. I picked it up slow, kept my face blank. $500 consultation fee paid by D. Wexler. I looked at Kevin. I looked at Diane. Diane kept talking loud, confident, performing for the trees. I folded the receipt and put it in my pocket like it was nothing. Sure, I said. Do your inspection. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't spiral into some dramatic crisis. I didn't sit there journaling feelings. I did the only thing that made sense. I checked names, licenses, certifications. I pulled records. Kevin Brooks wasn't a structural inspector. He was certified for basic compliance checks, outlets, smoke detectors, that kind of thing. He had no business signing anything about condemning a building. So I started building my own file. Every notice Diane ever taped up, I photographed. Every time she showed up, I recorded. I wrote down dates, times, exact words. I saved voicemails. I backed everything up twice. It wasn't paranoia, it was preparation. Still, there was a moment sitting at my kitchen table at 1 a.m., staring at stacks of paper when I felt the weight of it. Because people like Diane don't get tired. They don't get bored. They feed on reaction. And I thought very practically, not romantically, maybe I should just pay the stupid fee. Or sell. Or walk away and save myself the months of headaches. Then I opened my grandpa's old metal cabinet and ran my fingers over the original deed copy, the one with his handwriting on the edge. Ezra didn't build this place to have it taken by a woman with a laminator and an attitude. So I shut the cabinet, took a breath, and decided fine. If she wants paperwork, I'll drown her in it. I called a real attorney, Laura Bennett. Local sharp doesn't flinch. She took one look at Diane's documents and actually laughed. Not mean, not loud, just a short, stunned sound like, "Is this for real?" Wrong property description, wrong acreage, wrong parcel numbers, and the fake seal. Slightly crooked like someone eyeballed it in a hurry. Laura sent formal letters demanding proof of the HOA's existence, registration, bylaws, member signatures, meeting minutes. Not vibes, not intimidation. Proof. Diane responded the only way she knew how. She escalated. She started calling the county with emergencies. She filed reports claiming I'd threatened her. She showed up with a sketchy lawyer who handed me a cease and desist full of legal jargon and even more wrong information. Frank helped me track down the elderly neighbors Diane had pressured, people who thought they were signing a neighborhood watch petition and didn't realize she was using it like a membership roster. Then one afternoon I came home to my gate standing open and a brand new lock that wasn't mine. There was Diane in work boots barking orders at a contractor pointing at my fence line. "This easement is community access," she snapped. "Remove it." I didn't argue. I didn't touch anyone. I turned on my phone camera and said, "Diane, you are trespassing on private property. Say your name for the record." Her eyes went sharp. "You don't scare me." "No," I said steady. "Evidence does." I called the sheriff. Sheriff Martinez showed up, watched the footage, looked at the lock, looked at Diane's laminated HOA order, and his face tightened. "Ma'am," he said, "you need to step away from his gate." Diane didn't step away. She doubled down. And that's when I knew she wasn't just being a bully. She was gambling that nobody would call her bluff. So Laura filed the complaints. Official ones. County State Licensing Board. I handed over the receipt, the recordings, the bogus notices, the timeline. Within days, the county overturned the condemnation threat, and Kevin Brooks was suspended pending investigation. Diane's response was predictable. She scheduled a public community meeting at Town Hall to warn everyone about me. Big flyer, big talk, big performance. Town Hall was packed. Diane walked in like she owned the building, blow-up photos. A binder, that smug little grin that says she thinks she already won. She started speaking about safety and community standards, waving her arms like she was conducting an orchestra. Then Laura and I walked up to the front table and laid down the real paperwork surveys. Deeds, the county confirmations, and a neat little packet showing exactly how her HOA didn't exist on paper anywhere except her printer. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "Diane, show them your registration. Show them the bylaws. Show them the member signatures." She froze for half a beat, then tried to bulldoze past it louder, faster, like volume could replace facts. That's when the screen behind us lit up. Laura played the audio of Diane telling Kevin to write it up. Then the clip of her admitting she'd keep pushing until I sold cheap. Then the footage at my gate with her ordering my fence removed. The room didn't gasp like in movies. It got quiet, heavy quiet, the kind where people finally see someone for what they are. Sheriff Martinez walked in mid-silence with 2 deputies and a folder in his hand. "Diane Wexler," he said clear as a bell, "you're under arrest for fraud impersonation and criminal trespass." Diane tried to speak, tried to twist it into a speech, tried to find her power again. Then the cuffs clicked shut. Her heels scraped the floor as they turned her toward the exit, and for the first time since I met her, she wasn't talking. Sometimes the strongest move isn't shouting back, it's keeping receipts.